You five are the final vestiges of our brood, who some deem might one day be of value to the clan. I am not one of them. To me, you five are the excrement of a failed, semi-aborted batch from my bloodhouse. Far from the pinnacle of humanity demanded by the clan's geneticists that spawned you! Just show me what those Stravics on Lunderholm taught you.
Commencing a scan of the area.
Show me what you know of being a real, true-born Mechwarrior. And prove yourselves worthy of the name and heritage you carry with you. Prepare for mech combat.
Right, there is so much to talk about here. So let me go ahead and do a quick recap here. I actually saw the longer version of this when I did the GDC coverage with Russ. I actually got to see the full like play-by-play here. So I'm going to go ahead and break down and sort of give you my feedback about this, but also some of the cinematics that you see here. Obviously, the first thing that you see is the Shadow Cat. There is something to note about the Shadow Cat. I do want to point out, we're going to go jump forward here. And if you didn't catch this, it's actually that they're moving away from variants. They're actually doing sort of what lore is about. This is just the Shadow Cat. If you notice here, there's no indicators for like Shadow Cat Prime, Shadow Cat A, and stuff like that. That was actually more of just a distinction, I think, for tabletop. And what's interesting with this is I think going to, and again, this is presumptive of me, we actually don't know, we've never seen the mech lab, but I think what they're going to do is a little bit more akin to actually like omnipods being able to swap, and I think this is going to be really different from Mercs. So right off the bat, that's the first thing I do want to point about the Shadow Cat at the very beginning here when you see it running, is that a little bit down the road, the UI has changed, and it looks like, you know, it's going to be a little bit different than Mercs as far as customization. And for those that are unaware, Omni mechs are basically like modular mechs. They're able to basically hot swap very quickly depending on the mission and what is going to happen. So, for example, if you know you're going to have a hot, quick engagement, it's going to be, you know, just brutal. You may load up on those ballistic and missile weapons that are reliant upon ammo and logistical lines, but maybe you don't need that because you're just going to just go in and roll over the enemy, right? But if you know it's going to be a prolonged engagement, then you switch over to more of energy-based variants, and that is actually really, really cool. I was unaware of this when I watched it first, and then I picked up on this detail when someone pointed it out. That being said, we still haven't seen the mech lab, but I do know Russ has confirmed there will be a mech lab. I just feel like it is a little bit different than what Mercs, and I think that's a good thing. I'm really intrigued how they're going to handle the Omnipod system if you're just pretty much going to be able to move things around. Okay, so the next thing I want to point out as we progress here is your first introduction to your star here. I actually really do like this cinematic as it opens. You've got the broadsword in the background. Broadsword is basically a clan equivalent to a leopard dropship. And in the background, and you can see here 5 new mech warriors, if you will, landing on a planet. Now, a little bit of background here. Again, your first introduction here, you don't have any idea who they are, and then it rolls into some footage here. One thing to note, to sort of go back here, is that you're going to see a wide range of aesthetics, I think, on your clan pilots, because these are genetically modified people. At the end of the day, they come from multiple lines of genetic material. So you're going to see different hair types, different skin types, different heights, different, everything across the board, because they're literally just clones, if you will, or at least in the case of they've been genetically created from a vat, if you will, of genotypes and different mechwarriors from the blood houses they're coming from. So fast forward here, the first thing we're going to see.
Might one day.
is that voice you actually heard is this guy right here. This is the kit commander. This is basically the guy in charge of the Mechwarriors, right there. He's basically the one whose final preparations will either prove these Mechwarriors worthy for service. The first thing I want to point out is I love the cinematics here, and the motion capture I think is fantastic here. I love the aesthetics. By the way, this is in-game. This is in-game fidelity. You're going to see this. I didn't get to see any more than, like I said, what was shown to me. But based on this, I think we're going to see a lot of narration that is of this fidelity. And even Russ Block did mention in my Discord earlier that this has even improved. So even what you're seeing right now has improved. Some things here. This guy is mangled. He's, you know, been through hell and back. For those that don't know, too, clan warriors. This guy's gray hair. He's in his 40s, 50s, and that is actually a really rare thing, especially for Clan Smoke Jaguars, where you know, die young in honor and go out in glory. So this guy obviously has been relegated to a role in the clan of training the upcoming warriors, and you know, he probably has a chip on his shoulder. You know, like you hear him what he says, and it rings, you know, very true. So obviously aesthetically, I think I really dig the fidelity here. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm just going to go ahead and play this just really quick, just so you can sort of see the motion capture.
I am not one of them. To me, you five are the excrement of a failed, semi-aborted batch from my bloodhouse. Far from the pinnacle of humanity demanded by the clan's geneticists that spawned you.
Now, of course, he just said a lot there, and we're going to go ahead and break down exactly what he's talking about. If you're coming from the outside and have no idea about the clans, there's a lot to break down. So first off, mocap. Motion capture, for those that are unaware, in Unreal 5 is absolutely fantastic. Studios now can actually utilize their phones, their iPhones, to be able to motion capture. The voice acting as well is superb, but what you're seeing, the facial animations, the big thing is lips and eyes and nose and cheeks. All of this aligns. I think this is called metahuman as far as their the face and just everything like that. It's absolutely fantastic. And I just want to give credit where it's due. I was not expecting this level of fidelity from PGI. When I went into this with Russ, I'm not going to lie, I was very skeptical of what I was going to see. And why was I skeptical? Because of Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries. And I'm just being very honest with you guys. That is how I felt. I didn't tell him that, of course. But behind the scenes, in my gut, I was like, oh, great, you know. But he did mention how much narration, and he kept throwing, and I know what Unreal 5 was capable of. And so here, PGI, I have to give credit where it's due. He was 100% correct. You know, and I'm a man of my word. I credit where it's due. They basically delivered as far as the aesthetics, and the motion capture and the voice acting. And granted, yes, this is cinematics, but this is also in-game fidelity as well. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know this for certain, if you're actually walking around and you have the fidelity that you see in front of you. So let's go and dive into some of the stuff he says here. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then I'll sort of explain what is going on here.
To me, I am not one of them. To me, you five are the excrement of a failed, semi-aborted batch from my bloodhouse.
Okay, so what did he say there? He's basically saying that his bloodline, which means basically, you know, his genetics, if you will, blood names. If you become a blood name warrior, your genes get added to the gene pool. And he's basically saying is, you guys are a batch of basically crap. You guys are not worthy of the name. And I am not one of those that believes that you're gonna rise and shine. And that's one of the things about it, is these warriors that you see pop up here, these warriors literally were born together in a batch. They've grown up together, and they've lost, you know, warriors along, or cadets, if you will. They've lost people along the way. That's another brutal thing that I think is really cool about the storytelling and narration that I'm excited, maybe, just maybe, they're going to get into. the clan doctrine of basically raising Sibcos, that's what they're called, from around 3 to 5 is when it starts, right? They're genetically, created and vat born, and they start going through trials very early in life, and people die, right? People die in live fire incidents. People die because of other, stuff like that. And then some just don't make it. So out of these 5 warriors, you could have started with like 20, 25, people, and these are the last 5. Now, that's also one thing basically is to point out is these are your top of the top. These are the cream of the crop. These are the people that survived and made it. And these pilots, even though they're young, even though they're not battle worn like your kit commander here, are lethal, very, very lethal. Okay, so just sort of point that out is they may look young. Yes, they may not have been in combat as far as large scale combat that you're going to see like in the inner sphere, but they've had combat under their belts already. They've been in hand-to-hand combat. They've been in mech combat, everything you can think of until this point, basically, of a trial of possession. Okay, so, and again, going back to sort of what he was sort of saying is they're not worthy of the name of his house, that he's a part of the lineage.
Far from the pinnacle of humanity demanded by the clan's geneticist that spawned you.
They set the bar a little bit high. So, that's basically what he's saying is the Smoke Jaguars expect excellence. The Smoke Jaguars expect the best. And he's basically saying, you, in my opinion, are not that.
Just show me what those Stravics on Lunderholm taught you.
Commencing a scan of the area.
Now, again, Lunderholm, where they were born, as far as vat born, if you will. Also, just sort of go back here. For those that are unaware, you're going to hear terminology like Stravog and Trueborn and Freebirth and Freeborn and all these. Basically, the clans have their own lingo, their own linguistics, if you will. Trueborn is basically the clan way of saying that you are genetically, grown. You're a vat-born baby, if you will. A freeborn, a free birth is exactly what it sounds. It's like a normal birth. You were conceived and you were, again, delivered through a womb, if you will. And funny enough, the clans actually sort of look down, at least the majority, especially Clan Smoke Jaguar, very truest, they look down on that. So again, you can sort of understand that the clan's invading the inner sphere. You've got this sort of persona and almost a dogma about how they were raised and born and bred and so forth. And they look down on those because how they look at it is they've taken the best of the genes for everybody previously. And so they are superior genetically. Now, if that sort of sends some red flags and warnings, you wouldn't be wrong here. But all that being said, that is how they are. So let's go ahead and continue here.
Show me what you know of being a real true-born mech warrior.
Again, Trueborn. I'm going to go back up here, and you're actually going to see this scan structure. I mentioned this in my, first look impressions video, which again, you should head over to the channel and check that out as well. But this is actually a really cool mode. It made me a little bit giddy when watching it live. Basically, again, you'll see this like throwback. You can see this grid out here that sort of happens, this throwback harken to the Battletech cartoon. And, again, it's one of those just little things that maybe not mean a lot to some, but it's just those little details that I think are actually really cool. And again, scanning structure, figuring out what's going on. It's a simple interaction between a static object and you. Yeah, let's go ahead and continue.
Show me what you know of being a real true-born mech warrior. And prove yourselves worthy of the name and heritage you carry with you.
I don't know if you can see here. This is, again, very subtle here. I love these little details. Watch his he's staring in your eyes, just that ferocity, but watch his lips just sort of quiver like he wants to say something. He wants to just, ooh, he's holding it back. And again, I credit where it's due. I was not expecting this level of fidelity when it comes to this. And again, I was thoroughly impressed when watching. Now, I saw a longer version of this on my preview when I sat down with Russ for GDC. I actually got to see sort of the initial cinematics here, some a little bit of banter between your characters here. And again, they do have names. Russ did point out that you're going to have a relationship with each one of these. You're going to know them. And I think that's something that is missing and has been missing so much from the games. And it's funny because I was just reading a YouTube comment and people are like, or this one person was like, you're moving away just from mech on mech combat. And I want to just be like, yeah, man, we already have plenty of that. They're not getting rid of that. What they're doing is they're adding a layer of story and depth that we've never had. Have you not read one of the novels? And the novels, I feel like, are so important to the richness of Battletech and Mechwarrior that has been completely missing. All we've had is giant stop your robots, and that's great. I get it. It is good. But it's like missing like 75%, 80%, 90% of everything else that makes Battletech so rich is the people. It's a human story. Everything about Battletech, from the history and everything, is so human. And to be able to actually finally potentially witness this and have characters that you care about. And then, not to mention, one of the questions I had on the videos is, at the end of this, however this goes down, are you going to have a different perspective of Clan Smoke Jaguar? Because we already know the history, right? We already know what happens in the lore to the Smoke Jaguars and what they do. But what we don't know is all the little intricate details in between. And to me, what's really interesting about that is, how are they going to spin that? Are you going to have options where you get to choose whether or not you're a good guy or bad guy in the frame of, you know, maybe you're told to do something and you're like, yeah, that's not very honorable, I'm not going to do it, right? Or are you a yes man? Are you just, you know, whatever the commander says will be done, and let it be so. So again, it's just one of those things where I actually really, really dug the just video footage here and aesthetics. And I do want to point out again, just how well the motion capture, it struck me right off the bat, just how good it was. And now, as far as mech combat and what you see here, it seems very familiar to Mech 5 Mercs. My suspicion is it's going to feel very familiar. I think where the differences lie are just going to be in the mech lab. I think with the differences here of the customization, it looks like they're moving away from probably the variants and doing more variant omnipods, which I think is dope. I think it's going to feel very samesies. You know, again, one thing someone pointed out too is down on the bottom right, you'll know that medium hand and medium lower actuator, and people are like, oh, you know, clans didn't engage in melee combat. Yeah, actually they did. They were 100% capable of it. What they did is they shied away from it because they felt it was dishonorable, especially in 1v1 combat. But guess what? They also thought that combat outside of 1v1 was not honorable, or at least that's what their preference was. But as soon as someone shot someone else, it doesn't matter. It's just, okay, you know, let's go. And again, you're talking about people that have been brought up from, you know, think of like the Spartans from, you know, 5 years of age, and been in combat and been training here. And anyways, just overall, like I said, people were asking about the details about the mechs and mech lab, and you know, I obviously will have to wait to sort of see how that works. But as far as combat, again, I just want to point out that I feel like a lot is going to feel very similar. One thing that you know, the Mechwarrior games do is it's about a power dynamic, right? It's about a balance between you feeling almost godlike, if you will, and that sort of what that helps the player, you know, feel. And obviously with Mercs, you had it. With this, you're going to have it. And so this was just I just wanted to sort of do a overall reaction of this demo trailer, because again, my suspicion was this wasn't, it surprised me. And again, I mentioned that earlier. I've mentioned it a few times now. I wasn't expecting this level of fidelity, and it's awesome to see, because I think Mechwarrior Battletech fans sort of wanted, well, I know they wanted it, but they sort of have been expecting, you know, the game to be, you know, raised up. And I feel like PGI has stepped up to the mantle as far as the details here. So again, I'm super looking forward to this. Now, again, the unique thing is this was just a first glimpse, if you will, at the first mission. That's what you're sort of seeing here. This is like a test that you're called out to do. And again, watch the other video where you sort of talk about like what I was seeing here. I don't know how the story is going to go, other than I know you're a Sibco that is going to do a trial of position, become a mech warrior. In this case, you're going to become a star commander, and that you can issue commands. That issue commands function is absolutely fantastic. It's not really shown in this video, but the ability to issue commands from a top-down perspective quickly and easily, I think Mercs, it would be great if that got botted in. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, anyways, this is my sort of initial reactions to this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. There's even more cinematics that you didn't see here with the commander and of course the new mech warriors and pilots. And again, I'm really intrigued how they're going to play the story here, because it's already been told, but all the little nuance and details haven't been told. Okay, so again, it's just one of those things where I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be one of the... I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Russ was telling the truth when he said this will be the best narrated Mechwarrior game to date. And the reason I feel like this is important, I think what he was saying was that it's actual characters that you're going to be around, characters that you're going to develop stories, characters that you're going to see their emotions, and that they're going to be complex. I don't know how much as far as narration, but in his words, it's going to have more narration than any other game. And really, yes, there was narration in past games, but it wasn't like you were playing one of the pilots, one of the mech warriors. And that's actually been missing from actually pretty much all the games. And so I feel like this is raised the bar. Obviously, I don't want to overhype it because, you know, we'll have to wait to sort of see. But as far as the cinematics, as far as the dialogue, as far as the motion capture, and by the way, expect this outside of mech combat as well. I mean, you saw a little bit here, you know, as far as the mech combat, there's some pop-ups right here. So this is sort of the normal dialogue character, you know, pops up, and you've got the clanners and their suits and neuro helmet and so forth, and you've got some dialogue as well. And again, just sort of
a scan of the area,
right? Again, voice acting, nice, crisp, and clear. Nothing crazy here. I suspect this is going to be in between missions. Now, what we don't know is we don't know if it addresses some of the things that I wish it did, which is there mission planning and prep? Do you know where you're going? Do you know what sort of potential Op 4 is? Is there any type of bidding? Is there any type of honor system? We actually really just don't know. I do know this. I did ask Russ about doing a podcast in the future, and he said yes. Obviously, this needed to come out and some other stuff. And he doesn't want to give away too much, but we will be sitting down in the near future to talk about more about the clans. So overall, very impressed. I'm looking forward to this even more than I was. I was, you know, taken back. And again, I wasn't expecting this level of fidelity. I wasn't expecting this level of detail. And they've delivered, at least for this. Now, this is just a trailer. You know, again, this is just my initial impressions about this. But overall, thoroughly intrigued to see where this is going. Because also, what does this mean for the rest of the game, but also other DLC, other games in the future? Is this the level now to what we expect? And by the way, to me, what this is this is a great sign for what's to come, because if this is how good this is, it's only going to improve. And I think Mechwarrior and Battletech deserve that. So anyways, guys, this has been just my initial reaction to the demo trailer. Let me know what you feel. Let me know if you enjoyed the motion capture. Do you agree with my comments here? Or does this give you excitement? Is it hype? Is it too much hype? Also, on top of that, How do you feel about the combat? Again, I sort of feel like it's going to be very similar to, Mercs as far as that. And is that a bad thing? Or what do you feel about the Omnipod system potentially that may be happening? I think it may be a step in the right direction. It'll be interesting to see sort of combos and weapons. Also, how do you acquire mechs? Is there, rules and regulations about that? We just don't know. So let me again know in the comments down below if you found this video useful and you liked it. Click that like button, and I will see you guys on the next video. I do appreciate it. Until next time.